Hey, how's it going? So, I'm trying an experiment here. Last time I accidentally recorded some music that was playing on my computer that I'm recording on, and I thought I had turned it off. So now I have some music I actually want on here playing in the background, and nothing is acting the way it did before. So we'll see. I don't know what's happening right now. Okay, so I just want to do this really quick. I'm not talking about a show. That's why I have my head in front of the part about. Anyway, yeah, there's my disclaimer for the YouTube. Just entertainment here, and I'm just giving some opinion commentary. So, I was listening to a channel this weekend, and oh, hold on a second. And so, yeah, listening to this channel, and they're channeling Abe Lincoln. And Abe Lincoln, I had like an interesting experience one time. I was watching another show with somebody channeling him, and then I had a question that had nothing to do with the show, but while I was watching the show, I had like a sort of a vision thing and had like a little interplay with Lincoln, kind of. And so after that, I'm always like, ooh, can I do that again? So I'm watching this show, and I'm not even really, of course, that was in mind, but I was just watching. And he started talking about something that I think about a lot, and it has to do with empathy, but it's really like, do you put yourself in other people's shoes ever? And that's something I find myself doing all the time. It's just kind of instinctive, especially if they are doing something that I don't understand. Like that I would never do that, or I don't understand why you think that way. I want to understand, so I often put myself in their shoes as best as I can. And the reason why I brought up Lincoln was just because he was talking about it, and it was just so in line with what I think about it. And I don't know why it's so hard for us to do that. I mean, I understand, like, in the moment things happen fast, and maybe your emotions start doing things faster than, like, your logic, and you might say something foolish. Or, okay, gonna get a little deep here, and I'm not gonna try to explain it. I'm very sorry, but it has to do with sort of the things you learn when you're going through your ascension process, like the New Age thing. And so, why are we here? Okay, why do I exist? I'm hesitating because I never really asked myself those questions, but I kind of came to the answers, or what I feel answers them, in such a way that, like, I'm aware of, like, oh yes, you asked that question, and it could lead you to things that you learn that would answer your question. And so, to me, part of the answer is that you'll hear it say that this is like the Matrix, and what they mean by that, in this context that I'm talking about, I think they mean that you are yourself, and you have your existence, and your right now moment, person, thing, whatever. And then you have also, maybe you go unconscious like Neo in the Matrix, but however you get there, you also are this other dimensional person. Like, you have this whole other existence, and that's the real main one. So not like in the Matrix, where it's like this horrible, weird submarine, Honey, I Shrunk My Submarine thing. Just, I don't know, it is a weird scape. But what I'm talking about is, like, okay, so this is a game, or I've heard that this is like a school, and a learning experience. And I've also heard that it is like a place to come and basically vacation for ETs, okay? And just whatever energies that decide they want to come and hang here and be part of it. And the plot right now is what we are all living through, like the people talk about the hate a lot and the problems with all of the people that are just not plain old heterosexual, only male and female. And I mean, people that have a lot of problems with what everybody else is doing and think that everybody should do things their way. And that causes the other people on the other side of that equation to bristle or like get mad or, whatever the reaction is. But there's a whole range. Some of it's angry and destructive. Some of it's not. And the spectrum is so huge. So I believe that to be the case. And so I have to keep that in mind. Like, yes, I'm here to do this. And you're like full on, because in the matrix where you're real, you might not be a physical being. You might be like of energy. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how that would translate. I'm seeing the lightning bolt from Shazam's chest. That's just silly. That's just my guides playing with me. But it's something you can feel. And if you can feel it, your brain, I know mine is, interpreting it in a way that is like easy for me to grasp. So that's what's happening here. But it's such a real experience. Like, if you're not incarnate in your real existence, then this is just like a glut of physical feeling and like all of the luscious, unctuous, stormy, fiery, crazy, lovey-dovey, gloopy, like all of the feels, everything. And then also you got the physical thing. And then the world also is physical. And to my way of thinking, with my little metrics, the woo-woo world, all the stuff is seeing and feeling too. Like, that's my laptop. Like I said, I'm not going to explain it. Because, I'm not going to explain it. You can find it. I found it on YouTube. You can find it. Type Ascension into the bar, and you'll get something that will appeal to you. If you are interested, you'll find it. It'll come to you. It's meant to happen. And so we also get the benefit of forgetting that this is the case. And then if you come across the information and ask the right questions, then you can latch onto something like I have, and I realize that it's not accessible for everyone and it sounds nutty. I don't care. I'm certainly not harming anyone by saying I believe these things. I'm not asking anyone else to. It's just my opinion, commentary opinion. So, anyway, when you can remember those things, and when I say you, I mean me, when I can remember these sort of distancing properties to the idea of the existence, then I can be like, okay, well, in the context of this here meat of human, when bad things happen, like subjectively to me or to someone else, I feel things, and it can be overwhelming, and it can be like, it can like send your mind off into a bad track, like mental health wise, or these bodies are, or you can get sick, or you can get pregnant, or you can like injure yourself like severely, like a compound fracture. Like, to the meat human that you are, that's like, oh my God, the bills and the pain, and who's going to take care of me, and how am I going to work? Like, there's like all this stuff that's particular to the character, but what if you're like hooked up to some kind of electrodes or something on the other side, so-called, somewhere, and or like Total Recall. It's like that. So when I start to, that's becoming like more real to me, like more of the part of my life than the me part that gets upset over nothing and has a hair trigger temper and has to mind her P's and Q's and feels like she's tiptoeing on eggshells all the time. And that's me making me feel that way. But, and here's why we're here and here's what we're doing. So that's me making me feel that way, that I have to tiptoe around on eggshells and that I'm always like saying the wrong thing or something and feeling horrible about it. Like, it's not murder, but like subjective, like that's upsetting to me. And it shouldn't be, because it's not even the real me, right? I'm hooked up to something somewhere else, and this is just like, dang, I put my tokens in the slot and I'm having an experience, right? And so now I'm going to move on to another thing that is a connection. So I'm moving to the next section. And I'll drop down to the bottom and talk about how kindness starts at home. Well, while we're here having these experiences, let's say there's a point system and you get points for being great and a good person. You also get points for being a terrible, shitty, scary, horrible person. This is just my conceptualizing of it. I don't know that there's a point system or that there's a graduation in the points. This is just me conceptualizing. So you are here and you're doing your thing. You have a role, let's call it. And so you can't really get mad at, if you're the good person, you can't really get mad at the bad person for doing what they're here to do. And it's not that they're gonna, okay, I'm gonna get out of the point thing. So, but let's say you're the bad person and you decide to not, like, do something that causes millions or thousands of people to die, or 30 people if you're a serial killer, or, three pedestrians, or a short bus of students, like however many people it adds up that you take out. But if you do things to change that, like to get onto a better path, let's say, then points, right? Because like golden rule and stuff like that, and morals and ethics, those are kind of valued and vaunted, even on the other side where you're plugged into stuff, having your dream experience thing. So, and there's like a whole way that it's set up, and there are rules and systems, and I've talked about it before. It just didn't contain them in this particular context. And I'm not the only one talking about this stuff either. So, yeah. But the kindness, I would think, is part of the, like, making the switch from, like, the terrible bad person. Even if you can't change what you've done, it's like a state of mind thing. And yes, do also change the bad things. That is, I think, part of it. But it's got to start, I think, in your head. So, I mean, that's a kindness upon the world if you stop being like a horrible monster, right? But other ways of being kind are like, if you interact with someone and you do your best to be a good participant in the partnership, let's call it, just temporary thing, but you have a thing that you're doing with someone, and I don't want to be like mean, and I don't want to like do like play stupid games with people, like say like, oh, Boomer said what, and then if I didn't hear you or partially heard you and I turn around and say what, like, I'm not into that kind of stupid shit. So like I won't do that. I'll offer you what I have if I feel like I have enough to offer it to you, or I'll share what I have. I'll help if I can. That's my inclination. But sometimes you deal with someone that comes off that way, but then you realize that they are like never contributing. Like if you do something with them, or you make something, or you give them something, you will find the dish they had off. They won't even take it to the kitchen or clean it off. They'll just set it down, like, and walk away, or open a package and just leave wrappers everywhere, and just be a kind of a pigpen kind of a person. And that's not the end of the world, but it's kind of disrespectful. Did you walk in and find it like this? Like, why are you leaving a trail of trash? Like, you don't even care? And it's not just about like dealing with a one-on-one person. That's like kind of the attitude I think you take out into the world, and like on a number of levels, metaphorically, I don't think that's great. So, but another time I can think of, I was just had occasion to really think about something that I said about someone else being nice and describing to them exactly how they kind of weren't. And then like after that, I really, of course, had to put myself in those shoes and think, well, how nice were you? I hope that in the situation I was nice. And actually, it wasn't even really so much about a nice thing. Like, I don't think nice was the actual correct word to characterize the situation that I'm thinking of, but it did make me think, well, I mean, how did you behave in return? And so, like, that's always right in front of like, whatever I do, or sometimes right after. But I think that's all of us. I'm working on it. But it really made me have to think about, well, like, I think I'm a nice person. Well, what does that entail exactly? And I think back to like certain relationships, or not relationships like I was like someone's girlfriend or whatever in the relationship, but like friends, or at work, or with your neighbor or whatever. And just like, how did I behave then? Like, did I do something that would make me feel shitty once I walked away from that engagement, whatever it was? Like, it's just really on my mind. And I think that a lot of us are not there. Like, they're not really thinking about that when in situations where there's a disagreement about something, and sometimes it's serious and major, like over someone's child, or like the rape abortion thing, or just like any of the kind of stuff that's in the news. And we get so head up. Oh my God. Like, because I have decided that I don't want to like absorb a bunch of that, even though it's a lot of what I watch. It's kind of hard to get away from. But and it's like, it's hard to tear your eyes away from too. But it's also instructive, like, oh boy, I don't want to act like that. But it makes me look at it and go, okay, freeze. Can we freeze for a second, everybody, and just like jump into that other person's shoes? And I'm not saying that we should disqualify anyone's true feelings about whatever they are feeling about, whatever they're having the feelings for. But at the same time, we know that anger is bad for our health anyway. There's no reason to jump down someone's throat that if you don't know them and you just met them. Like, that's not an excuse to go crazy and act stupid with them. That's more reason not to. Like, why would you just unleash on a stranger like that? Would you want to be treated that way if you're just trying to say something? I don't think so. And it shouldn't make you madder when it happens. It should make you go, what am I doing here? Can I make this stop and go a better way instead of like, I'm gonna yell at you too because hurt people hurt people. Like that is like a double negative equation. I know that is the grammar and math mixing, but it's just like two dead ends basically, and that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like to listen to. That's what it feels like when you're in it. And okay, I don't wanna. I had that position just the way I wanted it, and the glare. Oh, I tried to get the glare because I finally noticed that there's always glare on my board. If I set it straighter because it's not hooked to the wall, it's going to slide down behind what I got it set on, so I'm just going to leave it alone. But that's basically what I was meaning when I was saying kindness starts at home, and by home is where the heart is, and that's inside of you. So there's a lot of talk about unity here and there, and sometimes it's working and sometimes it isn't, but I mean, if we're serious, then it's up to us to take a stand first, even with ourselves, and not freak the freak out first when you hear something. Like maybe let the person say what they gotta say and think about it, or, you know, and then like respond after you think about it, and maybe they'll have a chance to calm down while you're talking and maybe even listen. But, you know, I mean, you have to determine that you want to listen. So if we want unity, I'm just saying, here's a tip or two. And Carl Sagan, statistically, he is like a scientist guy. And I say statistically because I saw a post somewhere, probably Twitter, and somebody was losing their mind because he said that he saw Star Wars and he said it was too white. And what do you think happened? Kanye and White Lives Matter shirts level insanity. And I was like, yeah, he's a scientist, so he thought that way statistically. I mean, about it. He thought about it statistically. Dogs, coffee, cars, colors. There's varieties of things. So why in the world would Earth just be isolated? We have all these people, different kinds, different colors, different looking, different language. What am I trying to say? Word talking languages, customs, cultures, religions, cuisines. Even if it's the same kind of stuff, like prep work for your meals, the spicing is going to be different. Even in one country, America, so many different accents, so many different styles of cooking. So why would space be different? And so I think that's what he was saying. Like, statistically, that's dumb. There's not enough variety here. Everybody can't be white. And, excuse me 1 second, got choked now. Sucking in a bunch of air. So, of course, I can't remember dude's name. There's a guy, he had a show, I don't know if he still does. He might doze now and then if he gets sleepy. I don't know if he still does have a show called no. His name is Simon. Collecting Consciousness, I think, was the show. And he is like a medium of sorts or something. It's interesting, he's another one of those people that has a connection to like UFOs, or I'll call them UAP since we're talking about government stuff here. And I think that's universally governmental terminology for phenomena. Another one of their words. So anyway, Simon has a show, Collecting Consciousness, I believe. is what it's called. And his family was in like the RAF, I guess, and they were intelligence or espionage. I don't know, something like that. But it's like his whole family is like a family of psychics. You know how that happens? Well, you might not know, but that happens. It's like hereditary. This, I think, is sort of like it, but different. But anyway, he has like an earthly father, but on the other side of whatever where the matrix is, where you got your electrodes or whatever, he is actually a hybrid of a mantoid species, and he's talked about like how his father will come in, like I guess psychically, come into his awareness and take him. He took him one time. He was talking about how he took him underground somewhere here on Earth, and he met some Greys, and he had some really interesting things to say about that. And so, I'm just saying that if I remember correctly, he said the mantises were brown. But then what he also said was, I guess he got to see a bunch of areas of space, of different places where, I mean, some of our people might have been to some of them. I'm just not sure what the extent is of our technology. I know that we get help from ETs, we get like equipment and education, and I think that they probably don't tell us about stuff so we don't do things or go places that we're not ready for yet, because we're kind of like shoot them first. I don't believe in this at all, but we're kind of shoot them first and then ask questions later, which is dumb, especially when, why are you shooting at a spaceship? Like, what do we got here that could even compare without their help? But anyway, he's like, I stopped watching him for some reason. It doesn't matter, but he would just tell these great, I don't want to call it stories because he's talking about it like it's something he actually did, but he's retelling what happened to him and describing all these different races. And he was saying that white is the minority in space. And I'm not sure what Carl Sagan like knew about the stuff on the down low that they won't tell us because they're afraid we'll lose our minds, even though they're the ones with the big guns that we shoot at them. Anyway, they're us, by the way. Some version, like sometimes the Arcturians will say that they're us in the future. Well, they're from Arcturus, but from what I understand with this Matrix thing and about Earth, like there's a reptilian species that's native to Earth, and like that's about it. Like pretty much everybody else was deposited here, humans. And so there are avatars, I guess. So okay, that's it. It is a rainy, cold day here where I live, which it hasn't been for a while, and I want to go enjoy it. I've been doing all kinds of stuff all morning, responsibilities and obligations, and now I am going to go sit in my chair under a fluffy blanket and drink something warm. Thank you and good night.